Will trained with Dr. Rolf in 1975 and 76 in and has been practicing, and he's written 15 books on spirituality and meditation. I don't even know how long he's been teaching workshops for. I just write decades because I have no idea. And but it's a long time, and it's what he does, and he's a great speaker. And I've only known him for about a year, and I've never met him in person. We just Zoom all the time, and because he's in Costa Rica, and they did a workshop. David and Will did a workshop last December in Costa Rica, and a few of my friends went, and they all said that it was life changing, practice changing, direction changing. And with that, Will, I'm just going to turn it over to you, and I'm going to sit back and enjoy too.
Okay, for the record, I audited with Dr. Rolf and Jan Sultan in 1975. And that was maybe one of the last, I don't know, if there were more combined basic advanced trainings that they had. Everybody would be in the same room. Dr. Rolf would give the lectures in the morning. She or Jan would do a demonstration. Then after lunch, the advanced people went upstairs. We stayed downstairs. And then in 1976, I was in Boulder getting my training with Emmet. So I feel very fortunate, that I was able to have that experience with Dr. Rolf personally. Even if, it hadn't opened little doorways that I was going to be destined to follow. It was just wonderful, to get it from the horse's mouth. And it was, you get stuff. Now, it was very clear in those days that she had two interests with this work. The one, and frankly, this is what we got taught and what we learned, is how to touch bodies. How to touch bodies, to help people come out of their pain and suffering. Right? Maybe relieve, some of that pain. I mean, and that's really the tributary that it's how we make our living, and it's the tributary that has really dominated, ever since she passed. The other tributary, I call it a tributary that comes out of her. This was her vision, her belief, her understanding that there was something about playing here, okay? Really dancing with the vertical axis. Just this imaginary vertical axis. There's something about that one spatial coordinate, to the degree that we interact with it, has the potential not just to, make you feel better and ease some of the chronic pain, but she called it evolutionary transformation. I never heard her use the word spiritual. But for her, it was definitely the potential of an awakening that's available for human being as just sort of the natural, byproduct of playing here. Why playing here? Because you can let go. That was her whole thing. You play here and you can surrender. You can let go, you can drop the weight, give it back to Mother Earth, right? A body like this can't do that. What happens? It would fall on its face. Anyway, for me, I'm getting older. I want to make sure that this aspect of who she was and what she was up to doesn't get lost from our community. That, to me, it's what, the work ultimately was about. I was also in my 20s. I didn't have that many aches and pains. And there was all this talk about, these line states, you have openings and, experience that, right? And so it's an experience, and through experiencing it, you get what she's getting after, because you're playing with balancing like this, and you let go. And it's not just, I feel really good. Suddenly, the domination of this concept, the egoic concept, just the world of form, pops open. There's more going on than just the world of form. So anyway, what I wanted to do here today with all of us. If you listened to her speak, I'm wanting to share three major, what I call Ida's koans for awakening, right? And these are, in truth, these are what I've brought into the Buddhist world, playing with, just play, you're sitting. So you're playing with upright balancing in a sitting posture, right? And interestingly, the current Buddhist world, hey, the teachings are as deep goes. The orientation towards sitting, coming over from Asia, it is very user non-friendly. Okay? It's what I call the stone garden statue posture of the Buddha. Look, as early Rolfers, we got into that in terms of, I wanted to look like an Egyptian pharaoh or pharaohess, standing or sitting. So, we got into that. I really credit Judith Aston with calling us out, pointing out, hey, wait, it's not like this. It's this kind of thing. This has got to start happening, right? So, there's three major ones. One is we're going to start playing just with the upright, okay? And then we're going to get into her teachings on breath that, for me, are altogether radical and revolutionary. Both of those are, actually. Okay, so, around Dr. Rolf, you got the sense she wanted you to learn how to touch bodies, but she thought of you less. And you could tell if you also weren't in your own way exploring, some of these, what happens when I start playing here with upright balancing and letting go, right? So every one of her lectures, it was about the part of the body, the part of the session, but then it was, wow, she just throw little zingers in that you went, oh, she's talking about this other quality of what this work, the awakening, that this work could allow for. Okay, first one, and I'm assuming this one we're probably most of us all familiar with. And I'm not quoting her exactly on this, but this would be one of her theme songs, right? And when she was talking about evolution, she would say that playing here, which she called the line, and we're going to talk a lot about line. Unfortunately, line is a very linear concept, right? Line would be as linear a word as you can get, right? And it is, it's this imaginary vertical axis. It ain't a fence post. We'll play there and understand that, okay? But she would say, playing with this, a lot, you don't have to brace against gravity anymore. You can instead let go, relax. The places in the body, that have been there because, we're still, in conflict with gravity, okay? She would say you can release all that. You can let it go, you can relax it. What happens? And again, as I said, I never heard her use the word spiritual, but she would say, evolutionary energies are awakened that then start spreading or could spread through the entire body, resulting in an evolutionary transformation of human being, of consciousness. This was the game that Ida was interested in. That in a sense, she saw as bodies were evolving, consciousness was evolving more towards these naturally awake, kind of enlightened states wherein, I'm functioning totally reasonably well as a physical object in a world of form. But because of my experience of what's happened with these energies awakening, I totally get that the world of form, it's only half the picture. It's only half the picture. It isn't the whole of reality. This is classic Heart Sutra, Heart Sutra said, hey, yeah, you got this world of form, but hey, everybody, there's this other dimension. I don't even know how we call it. We can sort of sense it and feel into it. It's wide open. It's spacious. Okay. And I'm also a fan of the quantum physicist David Bohm, who, towards the end of his life is, one of the most acknowledged, revered quantum physicists, right? Towards the end of his life, he realizes science is amazing, what you've done, infinitesimally small, astronomically large, but you've only been looking at half the picture. And almost an exact mirroring of the Heart Sutra. Bohm said there's this underlying dimension. It's non-physical. And physicality is moving in and out of it. Physical objects are finite and separate. This other dimension, it's as big comes. Okay? That was a lot. Okay, so anyway, here's what I do, and I'm going to play with you all today. I teach a lot of sitting practices. Everything that we're doing today can also be done standing. And it's interesting. Well, I'll talk about that later. And if I forget to talk about it, Ron, will you remind me that I want to talk about, how this all plays out standing? Okay. So, as a kid, one of my strongest memories of that's cool is taking a broom out of the broom closet, long handle, swishy little broom things, and balancing it upside down, right? Have we all done that? Hands raised, come on, most of us have done that, right? Oh, and I remember there is that moment when thing just hovers there. And then of course everything's starting to go crazy again, right? Yeah, absolutely, Dick. That's that again, that's Heart Sutra. And there are two aspects of the same thing. And my personal experience is, as you play with some of these koans of Ida, uh, there can be an awakening through the body that through that starts making sense. Uh, Getting ahead of myself again, but I'm going to go back to Ron, because Ron on a phone call that we had, a Zoom call a while ago, came up with a great phrase that he's saying, well, how do we know? What are you talking about, Will? What is this? What happens? And I talk about awakening. First of all, there's an awakening through every little sensation of the body. And Ron came up with a better phrase. He called it cellular uh, uh, awakening, or relaxing into that. I think of it now as a relaxing into a felt cellular awakening through the whole thing. It's not just I'm going to put my awareness in my heart, or down in my hara, or up here where it usually is when we're lost in it's about this whole body awakening. Okay? So yeah, emptiness is form, form is emptiness. When that starts occurring, that starts making sense. Okay, back to the broom. There I am with my broom. I have a total mea culpa to make, an admission. Up until a number of years ago, I thought that moment when the broom was balanced was the thing. I've got to find that place. Okay. Now look, if you look at a hand that's balancing that broom, right? The hand's not doing this, right? No, the hand's it's going like this all the time, right? Ah. And it was a very big moment for me when I finally got what we're going to get to later about breathing, that everything has to keep moving. Everything has to keep moving. Okay? So here's the first thing that I want us to think of. Playing with the line, it's not a fence post. It's not a fence post. And in truth, most of us, let's say we sit down to meditate, right? The posture that it's got the most votes is you're kind of sitting here pretty still, pretty still. And, I believe really strongly it's time that as all this teaching intermingles with some of our wisdom over here, that's one of the things that's got to change about the teaching. This frozen stillness, okay? So let's go back. What's that hand doing? It's going like this. Put your awareness in your sitting bones. Just sit here like you're ordinarily sitting in meditation. Chances are very strong that your sitting bones might as well be cement tent pegs, right? Just stuck right in through the cushion, the seat, whatever you're sitting on, right? They're not moving very much, right? I mean, that feels pretty familiar, doesn't it? Okay. Okay, but remember that broom doesn't balance like this. This kind of thing was going on. So a lot of the way that I actually teach in the Buddhist world is that this play of sitting, it's more of like a spontaneous dance of balancing. So yeah. Sit there and just start putting your awareness in your sitting bones. One of the things you can start doing is just going back and forth, side to side. Side to side. Yeah. Okay. Which feels better? Sometimes think of the tuberosities like embedded. I mean, this is really a bizarre vision, but embedded, what are they, lacrosse balls? And there's just, a little bit of it sticking out. And those are the two things that I'm balancing on. Well, that's not a very stable supporting surface or anything above that is supposedly supporting.
Yeah.
Right? So, this notion of the first, I'm going to play with what Dr. Rolf is saying. Go into a aligned state. If I'm going to start playing with upright as what Dr. Rolf is talking about, as a structure, I guess, I think that's another red herring. It's called a line, and we talk about it as a structure, both of which are not exactly motile words, right? Okay, anyway, but I start there, and then it's kind of like there's the whole spine, right? Tip of the coccyx, right up through the whole spine, right up through the top of the head. Okay, I'm a kid growing up on a lake in Minnesota. I get into fly fishing. There's just this kind of elegant thing with the fly rod. And just, you go back and forth, and don't just make it like a metronome. It's a dance. Give yourself permission, kind of almost like you would do in Emily Conrad's work, the continuum work, let it go. Ida was very interested in Indonesian latahan. Emmet's Rolf or Hadija Lamas participated, and it was all about letting the body move, letting the body move. For me, one of the most hopeful things I see on social media are these little 5-year-old kids who their bodies are moving in ways that when my generation was 5 years old was not happening, right? So yeah, what if you think of from the tip of the coccyx all the way up through the top of the head as a fly rod, and you're just playing with it, okay? What I also want you to do is, hey, this is kind of a noble gesture. Let yourself sit up as tall as you possibly can be, but not like a soldier at attention or a ballerina, because as tall as you can be, but also as relaxed as you can be. It's very clear to me that an embodiment of the line is not the goal of our work. Playing with balancing, which is playing with the line, opens up a doorway, right? And then, well, we're just kind of, there's this wind, it just blows us through this doorway if we can keep letting go. And what's letting go? Letting go of myofascial contraction, right? That sometimes we need, something like that happening. And other times we can just, let it go. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So what does Ida mean by evolutionary energies? Everybody go ahead, hold a hand out, palm up, right? Can people unmute themselves, Ron?
I have no idea, Will.
Yeah. See, Ron and I are.
Yes.
Oh, well, look at if you can and you want to respond to this. There's your hand. It's out there in front of you in space. Let yourself put your awareness right into your hand. Okay. What's going on there? How do you describe what's going on there? Anybody? What are you aware of? What do you feel? And if people can unmute themselves, go for it. And if not, I'll go through what the answers usually are. But I'd love to. What is that?
Interaction. Interaction.
Okay, interaction with what?
This is Will Johnson.
Myself
Will
and
Johnson.
the environment around my hand.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. That's the first thing to feel. Someone else. That's absolutely where you start. That's the first awareness. There's an interaction between the surface and the environment. Okay, keep going deeper. Go right into the middle of the hand. What's going on? How would
Tingling.
the hand describe itself? What?
I feel it tingling
Tingling.
in my
Okay.
hand.
Okay, say more about that.
It just feels like I'm holding my hand out and it's raining on my hand.
Interesting.
Yeah, I can feel the micro movements around my bones.
Oh, say that again. What was that first?
I can feel the micro movements.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's beautiful. Something's alive. Something's alive in there. And I look at that.
Something.
Out that the first observation is not also accurate, but in this plan, for me, with Dr. Rolf's guidance, it goes deeper inside. And there's that, I call it the shimmer. It's like something's moved, and I have no idea what it is. There are people in our greater community that would have a much better stab at saying scientifically what we're being aware of when we're experiencing this tingling. Again, putting my awareness in my hand, I'm relaxing into felt cellular awakening, right? Okay, it's not just in the hand that we can do that. Okay, and this is, a lot of what playing with this dance of the upright. You start letting go, and it's like, stars coming out at night. And we can enhance that by taking our awareness, through our body, just, inviting the sensations to wake up. So it starts happening automatically when I start dancing with the line, really, really dancing with it. Come on, gang, it's just I'm just balancing on my sitting bones. And what I want to do, I want to figure out how to let go. I am so tired of all the, it's still that kind of holding in my back. I'm so tired. And these practices function as guidelines for how to do that. And the more I do that, one of the things that happens, the lighter it gets. Okay? Sometimes people, they ask me, well, Will, is there some kind of confirmatory experience that you're dancing with balancing? I don't like those questions because everybody is different, right? Okay, but having said that, two of the responses would be what Ron and I were talking about. In a momentary flash, there can be this awakening, this
Flow.
relaxation into this awakened, felt, cellular. There it is. There's the whole body. It's not just the hand. Oh, but then I watch. I'm not playing with the line because the line lets you be as light as you possibly can be. You are very deeply grounded, but you're floating. You know, sometimes, I think I said this to Ron earlier this morning, I think of these practices as a physiological hack that alters how we experience gravity. And I don't mean that we're going to float up in space, but play, oh, it's so much easier. You know, you let go of some of the chronic holding that is so intense when you're playing.
Through your head, every part of you.
Every part of you, absolutely everything.
Everything.
Yeah. So it's not just, you know, a beautiful heart-centered practice or a really grounded heart practice. It's every single cell of the body. It's the entire awakening. And we'll get into this more. So there's this place, it's just letting go. And I'm just okay, so, now, so we have that. We know that if we're playing here, it's letting us just continually let go, let go, let go, let go. Moment by moment, just whatever I'm holding on to, it just gets lighter and easier, okay? And guess what? It never completely comes to stillness. It's just constantly, very subtly, it can flood. Sometimes it can get very, very active. Everything starts moving. Now, as far as I can tell, there are two sources of motion that are very, very important for this awakening into what Ida's visioning as line states that open the evolutionary transformation. The first, we've already been acknowledging that when I sit on the cushion, you know, the first thing that happens to me is almost like a pilot's checklist. Oh, yeah, everything can move, and that starts waking me up, starts kind of an internal stretching that has nothing to do with muscular stretching, but it's an internal awakening, right? And as I said, for some of you who may know about Indonesian latihan, or did work sometimes with Emily Conrad, a lot of it is bodies want to move, right? Bodies want to move, and so it's also not. So I'm here moving, and also within this dance, sometimes what happens, you just realize, ooh, that wants to stretch. In a sense, one of the things that I'm doing in terms of the Buddhist world is giving people permission to let go in ways that they can't let go in a retreat center or a zendo. It's so still oriented towards this stone garden statue. But the other thing that comes out of those retreats, the practice is intense, but man, it is so painful. What if we, those of us who've been through things like this, we've all experienced that. What if, we can experience the awakening that those teachings are alluding to, in a user-friendly body.
They do, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, and that's a lot of what this is all about. So, the second source of motion, even in the fullest of bodies, is the breath. So this is classical Buddhist Dharma, right? So much of Buddhism is about the breath, or certainly the schools that are focusing on breath. Now, so there's a little digression, but it's interesting. We'll get to Dr. Rolf in a second here, right? I'm not a scholar in any way, but one of the most seminal texts of the whole Dharma tradition is something called the Satipatthana Sutta. Okay, and many scholars attribute certainly the opening passages, the instructions on breath, to the historical Buddha himself. So again, horse's mouth. And he said, you sit down, the posture of meditation, and the first thing is you got to start bringing the breath to conscious awareness. And look, gang, mostly in ourselves. We don't have to look just out at other people. In ourselves, we're lost in thought. Body isn't moving. I have no awareness of breath. And basically it's sniffing. There's hardly any breath going in and out. Isn't that true? Check it out. Very little breath. Not much. Especially when I'm totally unconscious. So the first level that's so important, and this is, what is, you see this everywhere in the Buddhist world, is a wonderful thing. We've got to bring that mostly unconscious
Right.
process of breathing to awareness, okay? And, you sit through basic mindfulness breathing retreats. The very first 7-day retreat I did in my early 20s, it was called Rising and Falling. You sat there, and even in the stillest of bodies, there is still kind of an expansion outward through the belly on the inhalation, retraction on the a rising and falling. The first 3 days, I had no idea what was going on. By the end of the retreat, I liked it a lot, right? Because what starts happening, breath becomes smoother and much more regular, okay? And just as this place lost in thought and sort of sniffing, hardly breathing, interdepend on each other. So does when I'm doing kind of mindful breathing, still not big, but I'm aware. It's more regular, and it creates this beautiful place that we refer to as mindful awareness, right? It's very, very cool. From where my perspective is the Dharma world, especially the Dharma world that works with breath. Oh, they also say in that instruction, the Buddha's instruction, you focus out here at the front of your body. That's really fascinating, isn't it? For that first level of remaining aware of breath as it goes in and out. Front belly wall, most people it's really concentrating, narrowing attention, very narrow attention at the front of the body. Well, mostly we live out here. We live behind this kind of mask thing. Right? We all know what that is. We feel it going on in our head. So yeah, start from where you are. Most Buddhist practices that work with the breath begin and end with that instruction. This clarity of mindful awareness is a beautiful thing. That is not, however, where the Buddha's instructions end. Okay? Next level of instruction is, okay, now you're aware of it, just start becoming more refined in your awareness of it. Every breath is different, isn't it? Some are a little longer, some are shorter, some are, make a sound, some are silent, some feel raspy, some feel smooth. That to me is an intermediate stage to his culminating instruction on breathing. That again, it's crazy for me because virtually no one with very few exceptions, no one in the Buddhist world goes anywhere near this. As you breathe out through your body, no longer just remaining aware of breath at the front of the face. Okay? Now, what's fascinating to me about that statement, it's a completely somatic practice. He doesn't even mention the word awareness. The instruction isn't as you breathe in, be aware that you're breathing through your whole body. No, that was the mental functioning, that would start with when we're conscious to become conscious. As far as I can tell, he's saying, hey, figure this out, gang, figure it out. How is it possible that someone could breathe through the whole body? Look, Buddha knew nothing about oxygen. He knew a lot about prana, right? It isn't like with our knowledge, oh, well, we breathe in oxygen, carbon dioxide. That's not what he's talking about here. He's talking about an experiential place that could occur. Lo and behold, whoa, it feels like I'm just filling my whole body up like it's a balloon. And the air goes out like a balloon. It's very amoeba-like. Oh, it's just expanding through the whole thing. Oh, like moving through every joint in the body. So this is my bias. Of course, everybody who has their bias would like to believe that they're right, but I think I am about this. He's talking about a practice that, again, so alters the physiology of the body. Remember, Ida? It ain't psychology, it's only physiology. So I think psychology is very important from unconsciousness to consciousness. Mindfulness practices, psychotherapy, starting to work out. We're getting Rolfed. We become much clearer in our mind. William James, the American religious philosopher, says, oh yeah, but then there's consciousness too. Shusness, you're dropping prefixes. Shusness, it's like this great wide open dimension that Ida alludes to, okay? That is very awakened, very alive, but you do not require, and it's kind of absent, the intermediation of the concept, me. It's just wide open, and suddenly you're swimming in form and emptiness. So, in the practices that I do, a lot of the focus is, okay, how are you going to breathe through the whole body? And we're gonna now segue right back to Ida. Both Ida and Emmet, one of the people that they kind of revered was, I can't even remember, I think it's 18th century Swedish, whoever this guy was, Emanuel Swedenborg. Ida said he was looked upon as a Christ-like figure. He was functioning at an entirely different dimension of something or other, right? What do we know? Okay. And both Ida and Emmet would share this. Swedenborg shared that his observation at, because nobody in Swedenborg's time, yeah, they were doing it in France and England, Lavoisier and Priestley, finding out about oxygen, its fuel, you spend it. But nothing was known up until then. Nothing was known. It's interesting, the most common belief of what breath was for was that it cooled the heat of the heart. And my understanding that Leonardo, even with his dissections, that's what he believed, right? And in some Vipassana retreats, you're just focusing on the nostrils. That makes sense. Comes in kind of cool, feels cool, goes out warm, like throwing water in your steam. Swedenborg said that the ultimate purpose of breath is to keep the spine in constant motion. In constant motion. So one of the clues, we can start playing with that here. Letting go. In this way, just playing with this letting go place, with doing this physiological hack on your relationship with gravity. Okay, you got that going now. Oh, what's a surrender into breath that starts moving every vertebra in the spine? Look, the joints between the vertebrae of the spine are no different from joints anywhere in the body. They're there for one purpose only, that's to move. Otherwise, it would be like a column in a Roman temple. And this is one of the things that, again, started, if I'm here and I'm not playing with balance, right? There's no way that getting some motion in one of the keys to the breathing of the line, everything's going to move. Everything is going to move. Everything is going to move. towards the end of my first class with Dr. Rolf. You're getting, okay, here we are. Now, what's the evolved play? What's the play here? And someone said, so this evolved being that you speak of in this lined body, how does that body breathe? And this I pretty much remember word for word. Oh, no, I don't. But it's just about like this. She said, as breath moves through this evolved being, the force of breath, because everything is so relaxed, will cause transmitted motions to occur cause motion to occur at every joint in the body. And I'm sitting there thinking, that's okay. And then the next thing she said sort of blew me out of the water. She said, and that includes the sutures in the skull and the joints between the small bones in the feet. Now, if that ain't breathing through the whole body, I don't know what is. Okay? She's talking about a condition that's so relaxed, the image that I think of, that breath can move through this relaxed medium of body that is letting go, just like a wave moves through a body of water. Through a whole body of water. Breath after breath after breath. That's what the Buddha is saying. Just figure out how you can experience this breath expanding through the whole body on the inhalation, contracting through the whole body on the exhalation. Okay, now that one was very good. And honestly, I will share this. There I heard it, and here I was doing sitting practices and playing with balance at the time that I was trained. Okay, I was into all that. It took me 15 years before I got it. I got what she was talking about, and I understood what the Buddha was talking about, or what Rumi is talking about. Rumi's take on this, he says that bringing breath to life, the total antithesis of lost in thought sniffing, bringing breath to life is the essence of every true path of spiritual awakening. Let every breath you take cleanse the entire body and soul. For Rumi, it's the same thing. It's just this experiential thing that awakens of all its grief and pain so you can continue to glow brightly. Now, so, that's the nature of what these practices are about. Look, we all need something different maybe in our life. Are these practices appropriate for everybody? To sit here and say, yes, everybody should be doing these practices is ridiculous. The majority of our clients love us for how we help them become way more functional in their lives and, wow, way clearer about who they are in the world of form. That play from unconsciousness to consciousness, from consciousness to what William James called shusness. It's like physiological play. It's no more, I've got to change my mind and become more evolved. It's just this physiological shift. And for me, there's the teachings that, from Ida. Now, some of you may know Tom Path. He trained, I think, a year, even two before I did. Wonderful, wonderful guy. And, Tom and I have shared these stories a lot. So the one he heard in his training class that actually for me becomes kind of a koan for this sitting practice is, I said, body is something wrapped around a breath. You think of mummies wraps, right? Body is something wrapped around a breath. let the wraps flow freely, like silk scarves. Ah, and that just happens to the degree that we start letting go through the entire body as we're playing with all this upright balancing stuff. We're not trying to find a place. There's, Gertrude Stein's partner, Alice Toklas, wrote about the city of Oakland pejoratively. There's no there there. Well, there's no there here either. It's not like, oh, there it is. Ah, enlightened awakening, embodied line. It's always in the process of changing. As soon as the body becomes still, the wraps become more like mummy's wraps. And partly I get that we're really talking about the physical form, the physical body. You can feel. I can feel how at times I give myself permission to remember that, hey, the spine isn't a Roman column and the rib cage is not a medieval armored shield. The spine is not a column. This is not a shield, right? Oh, there the wraps are awakening. So it's actually physical, but it's also just this experiential, what we were getting into with our palms of our hands, and then what I talked about with Ron. There's this place, just like this, you can feel the whole body all at once. All that stuff just wakes up all at once, right now. Oh, and there's a kind of a lightning. Oh, there's everything moving, and then, oh. Now, in my experience, playing there is what, lets me kind of, what I sometimes call it? I call it like a crack in the world of form appears. And something, it's like the awakened body is the felt presence, like this vehicle. It just floats right through. And this altogether natural dimension that, this is what we're playing with. This is certainly what I play with in the Buddhist world. And to be completely honest with you, a lot of people in the Buddhist world are so, hey, look, we've gotten so much out of what I call just settling down into the stone garden statue of the Buddha. It's that calm mind. This thing is popping at a different level. Okay? This is more, I think anyway at this point, more about this awakening thing that happens. Okay, because as this physiology changes, that's when there's such a shift in psychology from unconscious to conscious into this other dimension, altogether natural. Dr. Rolf didn't teach this. She just threw out, little blips. She wanted us to run with it. I never sat down with her and said, okay, I've got a covenant with you. I will do my darndest. I never did that. But I owe her so much gratitude. The the experiential stuff. We've all had good fortune, right? Come on, every one of us on this call, we're fortunate ones. We're finding our way into some very, very interesting stuff, right? Okay. What she's also saying there is, here's another place. Go there. Go there. I'm going to suggest we take about a 5-minute break. And then when we come back, I want to play some more with this for the next half hour. And then I really want to open it up to everybody to share, to question, to whatever. Okay? 5-minute break. Okay, gang, let's get started. So here is where I want us to start to play. And make it real that the curtain has just opened what is it, the Royal Ballet of London? Isn't that, the big dance place in the world? The Royal Ballet in London, the curtain has just opened. And you're sitting there. You're sitting there. Okay. I don't know if you're sitting on a chair, if you're sitting on cushions and mats, kneeling bench, it doesn't matter. But you're sitting there. And what the people have paid these exorbitant prices for seats for is to watch you perform the dance of upright balancing. First thing you know, everything just starts moving and swaying a little bit, right? Because if we sit still, we're locked. If we sit still, there's, again, it's stone garden statue, wherever we're still. That's every part of the body and even up into the cranium. Okay, now what I want you to do, and this is sort of reverse engineering this thing a little bit. I want you're performing this dance of upright balancing, okay? And you're also getting that they came to see someone breathing through the whole body. Yeah, you can do it standing, absolutely. Bacha, do it standing, moving around. And we're going to talk about standing. Standing is really the Latahan, posture. You stand and you let go in exactly the ways we are talking about here. So some of you, yeah, if you want to stand, absolutely, go for it, right? What I want you to do intentionally is to fill up the balloon of the body as fully as you possibly can, right? But you're constantly moving. Big deep breath. Now look, that may not feel all that natural because you're probably going to come up against those parts of the body that do not move, and it doesn't feel so good, right? So I want you to keep doing that, doing about 10 good breaths. Remember, Manuel Swedenborg, every vertebra in the spine can move. It's like giving parts of yourself permission that you haven't really been given much permission to. Fill it up, fill it up. Oh, it just fills, it fills. And then wow, blow it out. Okay, now here's one thing that I want us all to get. This is, to me, is one of the keys to the prince and the kingdom and queendom realms. Okay, at the very onset of inhalation, how does this breath start? It starts with a complete letting go, dropping of the entire weight through the entire body, includes the head, and it very much includes the mind. So here, look at this for a second. It's kind of like, say, just let go. And then, oh, so much more air comes in, it just buoys the motion back up. Onset of inhalation, just totally letting go. But we're playing enough here that totally letting go doesn't land us on our nose, right? Totally letting go. Just surrendering, the whole thing. No more resistance to the pull of the earth, Mother Earth. This is Mother Earth in her most benign. She's here. You can just let go. And oh my God, Mother is supporting me. Wow. Okay, every breath game. Keep letting go through a fullness of breath. Okay, body is something wrapped around the breath. With every breath, let the wraps flow freely like silk scarves. And it's everywhere. It's everywhere. Meanwhile, we're playing with Ida's notion of, oh, if you can embody this line that has the unfortunate attribute of being as linear as it is, right? If you can embody this aliveness, right? Okay, all these energies awaken right through the entire body. Oh, and then you can just keep, it's another little new part of the song for you to dance to with all the awakenings. We're not trying to get anywhere here. Believe me, I learned that the hard way over the years, right? All we're doing is playing with the practice, right? Moment to moment to moment. This feels better, different. So we're playing with balance. There's all the sensations. I sometimes talk about it not as my mind going to a part of my body and observing the sensation, but sending invitations out to the sensations in the body. And as soon as the sensation, that little pinprick blip of shimmer, accepts the invitation, you greet it with a gesture of letting go and relaxation, because dancers with the line can do that. Now, certainly in my awakening sensation training, Burmese Vipassana, different practices, you can go very, very slowly, part by part, to get sensation to awaken. What we're playing with here, and that's, it's good, it's great. All those years of that Vipassana were wonderful for me. Okay, we're talking about something different here. Yeah, you can go through to initially wake it up, but then it's this place that feels the whole thing all at once. Bingo, right? Except it's not a bingo, because bingo is totally different in the next moment and the next moment. So you enter into this kind of very, very deeply organic, fluid place. And that, again, as I was saying earlier, that's the one that I think. Then suddenly, whoa, we just start changing our relationship with the visual field. Okay, keep breathing, gang. It's always about the next breath. Remember, there's no there. Good news and bad news both. No breaks on this one, right? Now, naturally, what has been happening to me over all these years, and it's actually interesting seeing some of you with whom I interacted like 15 years ago. A lot has evolved from that time, and I think where it's evolved is really in this notion of everything moving. And it's not like I have to do anything. No, it's that letting go. That moment of letting go at the onset of inhalation. Right? And whoa, I can only let go like that at the onset of inhalation if I experience that as all of you are experiencing it, as what you are showing all those wealthy patrons in the seats of the Royal Ballet. They want to see this dance of upright awakening. There you go. There you go. Okay. Now, this thing about Swedenborg's breath, starting to get everything moving. If I let go like that at the onset of inhalation, what starts, we started with just kind of freeing the sitting bones laterally, right? This breath can be seen as kind of an undulation through the spine. And the beginning of it, not only does the head drop, as you feel all that air coming in, naturally, a force that rocks you a little forward in front of your sitting bones, or rocks your lower torso in front of your sitting bones. And that's what lifts the head. It kind of goes back. But there's a rocking forward and back. That has to happen, or the breath isn't going to get very far. The breath won't cause motion. It'll get up to a joint, it's not causing motion there. That wrap will be grabby, like plaster of Paris rather than a silk scarf. Okay, so there is this undulation of the spine. Onset of inhalation, I'm rocking forward. So letting go, I'm rocking forward over my pelvis, and everything releases there. And that starts this kind of C curvy motion. Diaphragm, opening outward. The head and the neck stay long and sort of move, sort of Alexander-like, I think. Back and up, and then it can let go right through the entire cranium. Right? But it's this undulation. I feel myself rocking forwards and backwards, over my pelvis in conjunction with breath. Now look, these very familiar places, especially for those of us who've, had the good fortune of having a lot of good Buddhist training, those good places also come at a price that you're holding your body really still, and, the nature of finally playing with line. What does line do? It allows you to let go. Just let go. Boy, I wish I had the magic wand that a client could come and see me, and I could go there and I'd wave the magic wand and I'd say, okay, fascia, just let go, right? Well, it's to some degree we can. And then, as we all know, it's so helpful to be worked on. One breath to the next, gang. This is the practice that stops. Oh, how I'm breathing right now? No, I can't breathe like this when I first sit down with you. It takes a while. I play with it just like, just like you guys. Like I say, pilot checklist. Oh yeah, upside down broom. Oh yeah, invitations. Acceptance with greeting. Okay. Oh, and now there's this breath that wants to, awaken. Breath after breath. And then gradually what I've been finding is, as this practice deepens, you get to a place you just keep letting go to the next inhalation. And it gets kind of, there's more. There's just more. There's more. And it just expands into what, I get is this altogether natural condition of lined awakening. For me, is what passes as normal. Come on, we see it every day in our offices. That's the altered state, right? It's literally, altered. I was kind of like this when I started off, right? You know, thanks a lot, almost entirely to this work, you know, Dr. Rolf. As I got into the Buddhist world, I acknowledged that Dr. Rolf was my most important spiritual teacher. Sure, I was getting all the instructions from, the teachers, right? But I had this thought that I had some kind of little advantage. Like I knew this cheap trick that it's something about sitting upright. Now, it still took me a long time to give myself permission. I started doing self-retreats. I didn't like going to organized retreats. So I could run, I could do yoga, and I could bring a Rolfer friend in to work on me, right? And it was in that retreat that the seeds of what this has become. I saw that, oh yeah, here's this upright, oh, it allows me to let go, really, oh, for relaxation to continue. Wow, everything has to move. Everything has to move. And there again, here's Ida. Body is something wrapped around that next breath. Everything has to move. Giving ourselves that much permission. So for me, this practice of, I don't know, what do you want to call it? I call it hollow bamboo dharma because everything opens up, like the inside, outside, the inside. Okay. And that's a phrase from Tilopa, seminal Mahamudra teacher, who his whole instruction, he said, nothing to do with the mind, just relax. That's it. Beginning and end of the instruction. Do nothing with the body, but just keep relaxing. Right? I mean, that in a sense is what this play allows for. The very next breath, oh, there's some more of a holding that came up through the back of my cranium. Let it go. Remember, there's no there. I can get a nice release, but I can't grab that because then, and it's the next little play, right? No there. The concept I is the most there thing we have, right? I mean, that's the quality of consciousness that passes as normal. And so Ida's talking about, hey, if you want to play with this, what it's all about is, a real awakening. What I love about it, to me, it isn't just sort of some kind of spiritual revelation. Wow, that was far out. It's so healing of the body. In some ways, what the breath is doing here, gang, as we're letting go and you feel it, oh, it's going up to some of these places that don't move. Well, it's not being aggressive, but it's just leaning in and helping that place let go. The breath almost begins serving as the internal equivalent of, a Rolfer's hands touching the body from the outside in, right? So I love this notion of, body as a balloon, fill it up. But fill it up through letting go, not through, that's not the game, okay? It's, look, sometimes that might come up, this is letting go, so you let that happen. But, the game is, awakening the entire body. So now that you feel the entire body, it's that feeling mass that can unwrap itself around the breath, okay? It's just like letting go at a very deep level is what I'm getting. Or where this is all led to. Okay, let's do a last little little play here. Go ahead, get yourself, put a, this is a new version of line dancing, right? Put on your best, put on your high heel sneakers, your best version of line dancing, okay? And then take some good strong breath. Remember, the pelvis, you gotta rock. Everything's gotta move. Spine's gotta keep moving. As you let go. And then what I want you to do is open your eyes, okay? And lo and behold, there is that visual field out there. Now just keep playing with this breath. Usually what happens, we open our eyes and everything stops. Because that's what we do in our cranium to enact conventional vision, which is me getting lured out of myself to all those visual objects out there in the visual field, okay? Okay, that's what Rumi calls seeing with the eyes, or looking with the eyes of the head, conventional, right? We're right here, there we are. Okay, now we're doing this practice, okay? Body's awakening. There it is. The lightning, that moment of awakening. Breath is coming through. And then my eyes are open, but I can't go back into that conventional way of looking because it brings not only too much tension to my eyes, but through my whole body. Right, so here I am, playing here, and I'm open, and the first thing I'm going to do is put my awareness right in my eyeballs, and I always thought it was called ocularisorsi. I've been corrected, it's obocularisorsi. Those things surrounding the eyes, right? And just soften them. Just another little accepted invitation that you're greeting with a gesture of relaxation, letting go, okay? So you just, and one of the things that will start doing, it'll let you see the whole visual field at once, okay? Whole field, I think it's this roughly wraparound ellipse, kind of, right? So it also lets you see everything out on the right and the left peripheries. Remember, I was talking about it's about feeling whole body. Feeling whole body, suddenly you can, because you're really going to have to relax, and you can't reenact the holding in the eyes, right? It's so soft. Whole body. All of a sudden, there's whole visual field. It's just there, okay? Keep doing your practice. You just keep letting that whole field be here as it is, in the same way you're letting the whole body be here as it is. Woo, that opened the breath up even a little more. And somehow inviting visual field just to show up exactly as it is allows you to start letting go of even more in and through your cranium. Just let visual field be here. It's the eyes that goes into the temporalis and go through the whole of the cranium. Letting visual field be here points you directly to what's grabbing and holding, which ordinarily we don't feel, so it's so ubiquitous, being lost in thought, right? And you can just let go through the cranium. So the cranium's a part of the body, just like letting go in the shoulders, in the belly, or in the back. Now, I can't get this letting go through my cranium with my eyes closed. With my eyes closed, to me, it's the beginning of the awakening, like the beginning of the hour. So, but at this point, when the eyes open and suddenly visual, it's like visual field implants itself in your body. It's as though the awakened body becomes the organ of vision. You getting that? The body is awakened. Vision, you let it come in. Those two can start interacting. It's like you can feel every little sensation of your body. Just kind of tapping into every little pixel of the visual field. I mean, this is what happens when the line starts opening its eyes? Rumi says, don't look through the eyes of your head, see through the eyes of your soul. For him, that was awakened body. That's why I say, look at these conditions aren't about working out, this neurosis or, that relationship issue or, the things that humans we deal with and we often seek help for, right? This is playing at, okay, what is this then? Okay, I've worked on some of those, hopefully, right? What's the next level in this video game of life? And Ida is saying there is an evolutionary transformation available to human beings. It's dependent on figuring out this riddle. Right? Anyway, yeah, I can yatter on and on. I do. I want to, turn this over to you all. Any questions? Any comments? Shoot. Okay.
Does anyone have anything they want to bring up and ask Will?
I have a comment, not a question. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. This, this is my Dharma. And who planted the seeds of this Dharma to be shared was Ida. Hey, you got to do something with your life. This is a lot of fun.
Well, I think
It's a lot of fun.
fabulous. That was just fabulous. I loved it. I haven't been familiar with your work, and this was just the bomb. Listen, have you? I'm wondering if you're familiar with the work of Daryl Sanchez with the tuning board, because what this made me think of was this is how a person should be using the tuning board.
That's very interesting because I've known Daryl for a long time, and I got that he sent out the blurb about what does he call it? The
Tuning board.
tuning board. It's a very cool thing. It's like a ball, isn't it? Kind of like a ball, and then
No,
there's
no, it's not like a ball at all.
Oh, okay.
It's foam
better than
between
me.
two pieces of wood. It's
Ah,
foam between two pieces of wood. Okay, and the point is, it looks like this. Can you see that?
yes.
Okay, and the point is that you stand on it and you feel a little bit of motion, and you have to adapt to the motion.
Have to keep moving.
You got to
Have
keep moving, and it causes all this tonic activation and whatnot. It's a fabulous tool.
Yeah, I got that. Now, when Daryl sent that out, I'm going, God, how do I get a hold of one of these things? Down in Costa Rica, no one can send that down here. It would never get here. When someone comes down here to visit, bring one. That's one of the tools that I covet, because a lot, when I talk about, look at the upside down broom, we're not a metronome, right? It's this fluid thing, but whoa, it keeps moving, and that's I got immediately even looking at that. That's what happens. So yeah.
Yeah. Now, just so you know, if you do try to get one, they come in 3 different consistencies that depend on the body weight of the person who's going to use it. So you've got to make sure you order the right one.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Daryl's a good guy, very interesting guy. I haven't seen him for decades.
I'm sure he'd be happy to hear from you. Okay.
I remember I had fun with him. Yeah. I thought I saw someone reaching for their computer button.
Batya. Batya. The name is Batya from Israel.
Let's see, where are you? Oh, yeah. Hey.
Yeah, I'm up there.
No.
I'm from Israel,
Okay.
in the midst of war. When the allowances goes in the north of the country, and we are being bombed now. We had a very rough night, but I feel so blessed to be here with you, going into my heart and really letting go and having this kind of breathing that's really, really brings life into my body. So
Yeah,
I thank you so much.
got it. Yeah. Got it. Look, I'm very fortunate. Very fortunate. I set up my life, and my wife Coco and I, what we wanted to do was to set up a life, to get by. We still have to generate income, right? But to set up our life in living in big nature, where the threat of violence, the threat of violence wasn't as large as it is in other places. Yeah, so for me, what happens, and yeah, it was really emotional, right? And you have that kind of interaction, and then in the context of this practice, I'm feeling myself again. Okay, next breath. Start to let go again. Start to let go. I will share with you that the transitional breaths from being lost in thought to being, even to getting this thing going, right? But then to getting going again, they're the hardest part. Because that first breath, you're still in the held place. It's part of who we are. There's nothing wrong with being I. It's part of who we are. We all got to get good with it. For me, the tragedy, I don't know if you want to call it a tragedy, that's, people think that's all they are, and they miss out on this other play, right? So there it is again. It's always the next breath. Yeah, sometimes how I think of this breath, and it's really moving right now. It's really going, right? So for me, it's like the very most perfect person gives you the most perfect rose, flower, whatever. And you think it, biggest, most fragrant thing. You take it to your nose. You don't go, you don't sniff at it, right? You take it to your nose. And you breathe its aroma into every cell of your body. It's like that. And sometimes, I mean, that sounds, well, that's a little out there, Will, but it's gradually, bit by bit by bit, getting to a place that you let go into. It's real. There's an enjoyment. Thich Nhat Hanh said, if we could breathe with 100% enjoyment, he said, thinking mind stops. For us, it would be, the awakening happens. And it's all about an enjoyment. So yeah, I do these practices maybe 5 days a week. I miss the 2 days that I don't do them. Okay, I also do a lot of physical stuff. We've got a narrow but longish pool, so I've gotten into swimming. I'm able to get stretches through my body that I can't get on dry land. I like doing that before then I come and do this. And, what I find is that, you finish a, night 2-3 hour practice that I do with some people, right? And then you stand up, that feels good, right? And there is a wake to it, you kind of ride that through the day until you can't ride on what you did before forever, right? You then, maybe 4 or 5 in the afternoon, I'm realizing, oh, wait a minute, holding on my breath, I'm grabbing here. Now that breath that just let go would not be available then, but you start over. So I like to do these practices and then go out in the world and, be look at, we're all, you're not like going out there showing off or anything. You're just going out being you, and interacting with folks. People like it when when they get to interact with characters like us. They do. They pick up on something. I don't know who that person is, but there's something going on about that person, right? It just happens. That's part of our game. Now, one last thing I'll share, and this is complete hearsay. Okay, I have no idea if this is true or not, but around the time that I was trained, the rumor mill that was going on, these were by characters that I looked up to, and the rumor mill was that Ida, the 10 series, came to her almost like a channeled transmission out of a Greek healing school. And Emmet and Ida talked about this. Asclepius, I can't remember who that was, right? And that was the initiation work to then be accepted into these mystery schools that she believed were about transforming human in the way that she was talking about with her image, the line. Look, the majority of my clients, still even at my age, I like touching, I can't give up touching bodies, right? I don't do the amount of work I used to do. I mean, not in the least. But the majority of my clients, they want that, hey man, that was a good session. They're not necessarily interested in any of what we're talking about. But I've often felt those of us, especially in this lineage, this is our potentially transformational practice. And as we were starting to say earlier, this is what we want to keep alive, So anybody keep interrupting me, and if not, we're just going to sit here and do the practice.
I'll speak.
Great.
I would just like to say, this is Sean from Toronto, Canada. And hi. I was at Will's workshop last December with Will and David, and it was incredibly wonderful. I learned a lot. One of the things that I've noticed that I've received from doing this meditation practice, is my ability to sense, see, feel, to see. I mean, I'm picking up so much more information than I was before about the client and about myself. And also the contact, when I'm working, the touch contact is like, I can really find the boundary so much easier, and where the person receiving the work can just melt into it. And that makes it easier for me. And as I'm getting older, that's good, because it's hard work. And it's easier. After over 30 years of practice, I'm feeling like it's easier to do this work than it was in the past.
Yeah, so that's interesting for me at a couple of levels. And yes, it was a great gathering. And Chris over there on the blanket, he was there as well. It's a wicked cocktail to explore these kinds of letting go meditative practices in the morning and then get body work done in the afternoon. That's what I insisted on doing when I was invited to teach in the Buddhist world, right? And it's the one enhances the other. I remember when I would do that in retreats, the Rolfers and the structural and whatever you could legally call yourself by, they would all say, we're spoiled forever. So often someone comes for a session, it's 4 p.m, and they've had this day, and they're really happy to be here, and they start and they let go, and 45 minutes into the session, they really let go. And we've all had that experience, right? And it's still wonderful work that we're able to share with these people. They would say these people are coming in and they lie there, and as soon as they start working, you feel it kind of letting go through the whole body. So one of the things that Sean was alluding to, and Ron and I had a conversation about this right before we went on. You know how Rumi says, don't look with the eyes of your head, see through the eyes of your soul. We could also say, let's let go of working when we're out of touch with this place that, oh, I can feel the whole body all at once. I'm relaxing. Oh, I can let go. Oh, that's easier. That's easier. And I also think it's far more potent. I think it's far more potent what we're pumping in to the people. And look, I can't perfect that, right? But during a session, I'm always, I remember, okay, yeah, that's it, Will, take your breath. Quit kind of tensing, right? And that's a lot, especially David. David really has an awareness. Yeah, so at these gatherings, what we do these practices during the morning and the afternoon. Everybody pairs up and everybody gets work for 4 days. You get work done every day for 4 days. So I know part of, look, when Ron and I talked about putting this out there, yeah. Well, first of all, I want people to know. I want people never, ever to lose the memory of the second tributary of Dr. Rolf that has lost its place on a lot of what Rolfing is about, maps. Okay? And the second one, I've always wanted to connect with people from this community that are, the folks who go, yeah, that was the side of the work. There was always these secret whispers in these corners that it was about, there was some kind of something. It was different than just feeling good and being your own best person that could occur. For some of us, it's there. If and if that's so. For me, it would get to a place. I gotta I can't stay holding back on these, whatever they are, that I've had glimpses of. We've all had glimpses of it, right? Go ahead, guys. Just keep playing. Got 15 more minutes to. Before we can stand up to riotous applause from the wealthy patrons at the Royal Ballet, having witnessed the most extraordinary thing they ever saw. Someone actually experiencing an awakening state through playing with the line. So come on, keep comments and questions coming. I really do enjoy them.
Hi, my name is
Yeah.
Amanda.
Who?
I just recently completed my training a couple of years ago with Amber Burnham, Elisa Noel, and Weston Horn. We talked about the line and the meditation on the line in some of these aspects of the work. But as a recent graduate, while you're in training, you're so overwhelmed with understanding what you're doing that this is fantastic follow-up work for those of us particularly interested in it. I know there were several in my group that really took this and were interested in it and talked about it outside of the classes.
Yeah. At my first pair, David came down here last year, the class that Sean was in, the other folks. It was really, really good. A year or two, no, it would have been pre-pandemic. Amber and Elise came down and we did one of these. And, once again, it was after that, I said, this needs to continue. And, I hear you, I remember, you're getting trained to do this hands-on work and it's not easy assimilating anything. And it's challenging. And I'm not a body guy by nature, by birth. and I'm trying to figure out how to use my body. And but on the weekends, I got to tell you that on the weekends, many of us would go out and play with with these practices. We would come in. Ida, she wanted to hear about it. She was curious, in her own kind of minimal way. Hey, look, we're talking about the 70s. She did not want to hear about the substances that people were using to help them, but she did want to hear about our experiences. She was very respectful and acknowledging of that. I've always put out my idea of the great SI training class would be, and I'm distracting myself because I suddenly just realized that that's David and Lorraine down there. I was kind of seeing you folks out of the periphery of my eyes, and then, blessings on you. I've always felt that a ideal training class, you start an hour earlier, and the first hour, everybody's playing with these practices of the line. Then you get to work learning how to use your hands, right? Something like that. But yeah, and I know, look, even back in the day when definitely there was a lot of conversation about what we're playing with here. There were a couple of brothers, they were former Jesuits, really, really amazing guys. One came into the training class, sitting around, had lunch with all of us newbies. I was such the low person on that totem pole. I audited that class, with the people that were being trained, and then the Rolfing gods that I knew of who were getting their advanced training. And I'm kind of coming in not knowing much about anything, right? But I remember this fellow talking about his time in the Jesuit order. And these were his exact words. He said, I have had more direct awakenings into what I can only call Christ consciousness through working with Dr. Rolf's principles than anything that ever happened while I was a formal Jesuit, as wonderful as all that was. Right? So it is, this is, Dr. Rolf for all of us is a genius who gave us the hands-on work. For those of us for whom it's appropriate, she's also a genius for this kind of awakening. Not all of us probably isn't appropriate, so I think a lot of people are karma. We're to learn how to be really good people. This life in the world form, that's it. But there's others of us who have that itch. And she started it for me. Those were my awakenings after I got Rolfed. And then started having these experiences of, oh, this is what she's talking about, right?
Hey, Will.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that at the 1976 annual meeting, you and I attended, is that Dr. Brujoy got up there for his presentation. And what he said is that Dr. Rolf was a veiled spiritual master who came in a feminine body. And this line work transforms everything that we think we know. And then we get into the experience of knowing.
Yeah. I mean, it is. It's just, like she gave a magical little key, and those just aren't words of platitude, that we sometimes want to adorn our leaders with, right? It's real. I really got that from her, that notion. And I would, in some small ways, I was not close with her by any means, but would have conversations, and I would share some of what we're talking about here today. Not in any of the kind of understanding that I'm able to share with you now, right? But what was happening to me, how I was out in the garden and something happened and energies opened, my body started moving. And she would listen very, very intently. And all that she would say, continue to explore that. And then just turn, just quick and then turn away. right? And what else? We still have a little bit of time.
I'm going to jump in
Okay,
really
go
quick. You've lobbed a couple of little segues in, and we are having, like the workshop that we did last year, we are doing one very similar to it in Montgomery, Texas, which is just north of Houston, at this awesome retreat center I've had the chance to visit. It's a really peaceful property, and we're calling it evolutionary transformation through the line, and that's with Will and David, and David is who just spoke a minute ago. And then the other thing I want to do is, if you want to hear more about what we're doing, you can go to our website, which is rolfguildusa.org. So ROLFGUILDUSA.org. And we do a newsletter. We don't do it super regular. We do it when I get inspired to write it. And it's about every month or every other month, depending on what we have to talk about. And that's a great way to follow what we're doing. And we also post on our Facebook page, and we post also on the private Facebook page for structural integrators. And thank you, everybody. Also, I'm not cutting us off here. I'm just impressed with how many people turned up on a Sunday morning, and it makes my heart warm. And thank you. Thank you, Will. Now take back.
You will.
I wanted to say thank you also from Israel. It's really amazing. They worked hard 40 minutes to try to get in. Thank God Erin saw me and helped me. And Will, I heard about you, I think, from Peter a lot. And I think you healed my neighborhood now.
Where do you live?
It's amazing. I'm sorry?
Where? Oh, okay. No, I understand what you're saying. Go ahead.
No, it's amazing, and
yeah,
just amazing. I don't want to add. So really, 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 thank you for your wisdom and your kindness and your spirituality and your everything. Really, thank you. It's a blessing.
You're very welcome. As my son is wont to say about anything that his dad does, if my dad can do it, anybody can do this. And it's not like I've done anything. I like exploring these practices, and I like how they affect me. End of story. And it's always the next layer. It's always the next layer. So every moment to moment, it just keeps changing. So yeah. And for me, it's really Rolf. This notion, and then it was this notion here, and then it's all about letting go. And Judith was another of the geniuses in that early world. She called us out like we're
Mavericks.
Yeah, but we thought that we were supposed to look like those Egyptian pharaoh characters, the kings and queens. And then it was through Judith that eventually I got back to Ida's understanding. The body is something wrapped around a breath. Everything can move. Everything can move. Everything can move. And when that occurs, the evolution, just happens. Oh, hey, this is different. It's like Ron and I were joking earlier. It's like, Dorothy, this isn't Kansas anymore. Right? And I don't look upon that as, oh, I want to go into those awakened states and just stay there for, forever. But that to me is where I get the batteries charged, and where the greatest healing continues to occur. And then you go out to the world of form. And look, we're all Rolfers. What do we do out in the world of form? We help people. Right? And I just have to say, when I figured that was David and it's Lorraine, and dear Lorraine, I have not seen you. I mean, David, at least I saw a year ago. I've not seen you for I don't know how long, and it's really fun to see you both.
Thank you for this blessing with such ease, such ease.
Yeah, yeah. Lots of love, kiddo. Okay, who else has something?
All right, thank you, Will.
Hey, lots of love to you, amigo.
And I look forward to seeing you and David in December.
Yeah,
Anybody on the fence, get on the
Yeah.
fence. It's
yeah,
gonna be pretty awesome.
yeah. This is the other of the people that I termed the usual suspects that showed up to the workshop that David and I did. I mean, but hey, come on,
I'm looking.
anybody on here would have
Great.
been to fit the bill.
I'm looking forward to meeting you, Will, finally, and
Yeah,
looking
yeah,
forward to
Aaron.
hosting you here in my in my
I just
hometown.
realized you. Yeah. Looking forward
You
to
and
meeting
David, definitely.
Yeah,
I'm really looking.
and David, you know how I appreciate you. So yeah. Oh, I don't know if I can do this and this. Someone turned my machine on. Can I do this? Ah,
Oh,
how stupid and schmaltzy can you get? But how very nice,
it's
right?
perfect.
Yeah. What do you think, Ron? Do you want to wrap it up?
Yeah, let's wrap it up. And I forgot I didn't mention the dates of that workshop. It's December 5th through the 8th. It's a 4-day workshop. Will, thank you so much for the time and effort. And love
Ron,
working with you.
Ron, I think Daniel wanted to say something first.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, we can wrap it up. Oh, well, I was just going to say briefly, I think there's, I have a consciousness teacher, Samuel Bonder, and I trained with a Shaolin monk for many years. And I think there's something to be said for the sort of transmission that happens when you sit with somebody that's inhabiting a certain state. And I really appreciated just when you like held your hand out and showed the wobbling broom, like there's a feeling that experienced, and it's like a download. And I to Rolf, not wanting this to be transmitted through a textbook, but through sort of lineage, I think it speaks to that, like it has to be felt. And so thank you so much. I might elaborate on that more. I'm in Austin, Texas, so I'll definitely be at the
Okay.
thing in.
Okay, I'll really look forward to meeting you. And let's leave it at that. I really enjoyed, what you shared. There is something. Okay, I'm going on again. Zoom, don't ask me how or why, but Zoom is actually a pretty good medium for transmitting the experience of what this is. I can sit here as a talking head and say till the cows come home, okay, everybody, just let go. Just let go. Just let go. But if, it isn't, and that's how you give permission. And a lot of this is giving permission. I really get that. Obviously, I'm in a situation now where I'm giving permission to people to play with the line and let go. But when we do it in a group like this, what starts happening is that we're all feeding off of and feeding each other. So the permission is, it just keeps happening. So I really get that.
Daniel calls that the field of mutuality, that place we can all inhabit together. And you could totally do it over Zoom with people all over the world as soon as we're aware of it.
I love Zoom. I have students in South Korea, a lot in Europe, and they can, one guy gets up at, 2 in the morning or something, right? Which is the drawback. Anyway, Ron, any last thing? Me, I'm going to stop.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, everybody, for showing up. And hey, I'm going to put this on YouTube, and it will be posted around. I'll email it out, and it will be available. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Love everybody.